Hello, I'm live. Tonight, Monday, is that we are going to talk about questions. Questions of, when you ask a question to your child, right, is like, if I ever got a buck for answering this question about why your child won't answer your question, I'd probably be pretty well off, and the reason why your child, like, if you don't want to watch this longer than you want to, I'll just give you the gist of it. Children don't answer a question or repeat your question because they don't understand it. They don't understand you. They don't understand whatever. Okay, that's why they're repeating your question. Okay, and we do it all the time. We do it a lot, and I can tell you with my experience. If it's not your first time here, welcome again. If you're first time here, then that's cool as well. So what I'm trying to say is, if this is not your first Monday live, or you've been through the micro course already, this is old news to you. Okay. So when we repeat a question, it means that we don't understand. And it comes from the fact that, if you've been traveling, well, nowadays we're not doing a lot of that. In fact, for the past few weeks, actually, the world has become even harder to actually travel around in. Things are getting worse, but I digress. Okay. I am living in a foreign country. When I don't understand a question, okay, someone asks me a question in very fluent Indonesian, what do? I try to repeat the last few syllables, look at them, just being quiet so that they will try to, they will try to like explain a little more. So I give them a look, a stop, I pause, I maybe repeat the last few words to tell them that I am not a native speaker because of my accent, because of the words I'm pronouncing it totally wrong. So your son or your daughter, your child is doing exactly that. What they are trying to do here is that they're pausing, they're repeating, they're trying to find a solution around your question because they don't know how to answer you, right? So I do this all the time here as an alien foreigner, and your child does it to you as well because he doesn't know what to say to you. Okay, that's the main gist of it. So in today's live, we're gonna deep dive a little bit more, talk about it. Just having a chat, hanging out, and at the same time, we go through this inside of the micro course, and it's just bite-sized lessons that you can learn from all the frequently asked questions from parents like yourself. And yeah, so if you have any questions, you can always put it in the comment section right now. If you're watching this on a recording, then obviously you can still put it in the comment section. I will try my best to get back to it. Okay, so the questions part, how do we stop the child from repeating, right? How do we stop the child from just ignoring your questions, or just saying the last few syllables as if they're trying to do whatever, like just trying to not answer your questions, right? So the first things first, you have to understand if your child knows, they would have said it to you. That's the first thing you need to understand. For a child who knows how to imitate you, knows how to follow your directions, and doesn't have much of a problem, playing with you or whatever, following you in the supermarket or whatever. If you ask them a question, and if they know the answer, and there's no reason there's no reason to ignore you, then most probably they would have told you already. So I want you to think about that first, okay? If they knew, they already have told you. That's very important for you to understand, okay? And I'm saying this because a lot of parents just think that my child just isn't answering me. What am I gonna do? They keep on repeating, they ignore my questions. They can't even answer yes or no. So I'm gonna go in deep a little bit and talk about yes and no questions later on, and the types of questions that children should and should not be able to answer, which is a little bit too much for the live here. So If you have any specific questions about your child, you can put it in the comments so that we can go through them here without me having to reply all the emails that you guys send me. And I can do it in one go. That's the best thing, the best way that I can teach, I think. So first of all, now that you know that your child should and will answer you, right? Hi, I don't know who you are, so I need to check on Facebook. Anyways, so now that you know that, your child should and would answer you, right? So what should you do when they don't answer you? Well, think about it. They don't understand you. They're trying to get around to talk to you and so on, right? So the best way is to simplify your question, right? If you're asking why they're doing something, most probably they don't understand that. I've got a student who's like a mature student who isn't like a kid anymore, and when I ask her why, she would just say like I'm asking her like why did you feel happy, and then she'll just say because happy. That's all. But if I asked her what happened that made you happy, then she will be able to tell me, oh, because I ate ice cream or something. So you have to remember, sometimes by changing a little bit, making it easier for a child to understand, for anyone, it's going to make a whole load of difference. So simplify your question first, okay? If it's something that you cannot be simplified, such as, what are you doing? What are you eating? What is that? Okay, these questions you have to understand. A lot of parents, and this is where moms will start laughing, because it's like exactly as if I know what's happening. And it's not because I can read minds or anything. It's because I've seen it too many times. Okay, so if you ask what is that, and you quiz them a lot, and we talked about this a lot inside of the micro course and inside of our Agents of Speech courses, right? When you quiz a lot, when you ask these questions for no particular reason other than you want them to answer you, then very easily a child will learn that these questions, that even if I answer, there's nothing that happens, right? For instance, what are you doing? What are you playing? What is that? Tell me, tell mom. What's that? What are you doing? Like, what's the end goal of that? You just want them to answer you. And after they answer, what's the consequence? Probably you just say, yeah, or like good, or whatever. The consequence is minimal. It doesn't add to their play, doesn't make it more fun. It doesn't make it more fun, right? It doesn't make it any more satisfying or anything, right? So let's see. Kui Yen. I think I'm getting your name right. Please tell me if I am or not. So 32 months, just learned simple pronunciation. Ma, rarely speak it. He know to pronounce but refuse to call ma pa. No matter how to encourage, he just won't call it out. Yeah, well, I'll answer your question right away here, and then we'll talk about it more. And this ties into what I just told you, right? If you don't have a reason for a child to answer you or call you, then most probably he won't use it. Okay? Your encouragement. What do you mean by encouragement? Do you have rewards? Do you have like social reinforcement consequences, like such as tickling or whatever? Do you have a strong routine that you can teach him in order for him to learn to use those words, right? And Guyan continues, the most frequent sound he makes is da or da, okay? Depending on if it's Mandarin or Cantonese. Hits in English meaning, I know that. But thanks for telling other people here. He repeats the sound with a different tone when he's angry and wants to scold people. Okay, that means, what that means, Guyan, is that he doesn't understand totally. He doesn't understand how to use other words. Okay, so what you need to do here is to stop doing the words first. You need to start by teaching him gestures. Go through the course. I know you just joined, Guyan. So you go through the course first. Teach him some easy gestures. Don't start off with like ma or whatever, although you already know that he has it in his repertoire or his like vocab, but you ask him to say it doesn't mean it's easy for him. If it's easy for him, he would have been using it already. Got it? It's a mindset shift. So you need to understand that. You need to go through the courses, especially in the micro course, to understand, hey, your child doesn't owe you to say ma, no matter how much you encourage him. If he can do it, he'll be doing it already. The reward is breastfeeding him once he calls out. Okay, I think that's a little bit too troublesome. Use something else. Like you use I know he's rather young, right? Can you use something else like a snack or something that you can make into smaller bits? That's easier for him to, like, once he says you just give it to him and he doesn't need a, because it's troublesome, right? If you're breastfeeding and then so on so forth. Sorry, technical difficulties today. The wires are kind of loose. Okay, so go through the course first, learn about it more. Of course, you can keep on asking, right? So, what I was trying to say is, you have to have a reason why you're asking him to talk, to answer a question, whatever. Okay, if your child knows how to do it, he or she would most probably do it anyways. Okay, it's just that sometimes when a kid can do something, doesn't mean it's easy for them every time around. Okay, right on. So here we have someone else, probably from the group here. Okay, so if you're from the group, if you want me to know who you are, you can press that, like the link inside of the description. It says I'm using like StreamYard or something. That's the software I'm using to broadcast myself. Okay, so it's Linda. Cool. I think, is it? It's Linda Lee, I think. So Linda says, I've been hearing my 3-year-old trying to imitate how we speak, but softly, not clear, but we understand. He will understand all instructions. I'm still at a loss. Can call mama, but lip to lip. Can call nai. Can't spell papa yet. Gonna school die, COVID. Let's do him. Help text. Okay, so if that's the case, I really think, Linda, that this problem you're facing is more of a speech disorder. Okay. Would I say that I would use PECS? I don't think so. At this moment in time, teach him more gestures to, as we always say, right, to alleviate, to help him with some very everyday stuff, right? Everyday activities that he struggles to say. Teach him a sign or something so that he gets it out of the way. But at the same time, because you said lip to lip, right? That means he requires your sound input and your visual input in order for him to say it. Okay, mama should be a very easy sound. Okay, if you tell me that a child cannot say mama and he needs to look at you and look at your mouth and listen to you and say it at the same time, then most probably it's a speech problem, not a language problem. I know right now because, as I said, coronavirus and everything, and even Singapore is starting to lock down again, right? Such a well-controlled city. But this life is not about, current like issues and politics and whatnot. But anyways, I'm talking about, like, I know it's difficult to find a speech therapist for now. But what you need to try now, which is very hard, by the way, Linda, is that you need to start thinking about how to see how much sounds he can do on his own. For instance, ma, just ma, not mama, just ma. Can he do it himself after you say it, like upon imitation, not simultaneously lip to lip as you say, right? So I would say try out. Can you do pa, ma? Can you do just the vowels a, I, u, e, o? Can you do like double vowels like I, oi, o, iu, all these sounds? Can he do all of those by himself, right? And most probably, if you need to do lip to lip, then that means sometimes prompt therapy will work quite well. And what is prompt therapy is basically just using your hand and creating and telling him how to move the mouth. Okay, for instance, I'll give you some here, but I can't give you everything, okay? Because it's going to take forever. Dude, when we learned it, it took us like 3 days and it cost like $1,000. And then at that, you still had to practice it and learn it by yourself, right, Linda? So I'm going to give you some so that you know. So for instance, like M, like ma, right? Put 2 fingers here and then a thumb up for like that. Ma, like that. All right? So you go ma, so that you can slowly fade out your mouth shape. And that's the whole thing about speech and language. You need to get rid of the cues and the prompts, or else they'll never do it by themselves. All right? So you need to check out if you can go ah, e, u, e, o, all these simple vowels by himself without being lip to lip, as you call it. And then we can think about what other sounds we can teach him. All right, this is a very speech related thing. So if you can afford it, if it's feasible in terms of health and conditions, then go to a speech therapist and excuse me, just had some pizza, my bad, and see how they can help you. All right. By the way, we do have other like parents and moms who are going through the same thing as you, Linda, and how we're trying to do it all over the internet is that we have a membership that's kind of closed here, and I'm only talking about this because I wrongly sent an email out to everyone telling them about the Zoom session we're having on Thursday. So if it interests you, I'm not gonna take it away or whatever, right? Then you can go there and check it. Or are you inside already? I don't think so, right, Linda? Anyways, so Linda says he can do IEU. Remember the video I posted? Yes, that's right. So you can now try the I, put two together, right? I, A, O, ui, I. Can he do those? Can he do any of those? Like when you put two vowels together, right? So try that. Okay. So let's go back to Ko Yen, and I'll go back to the topic about questions. Sorry, I just like answering questions. It's fun. Ko Yen says, yes, the reward is breastfeeding once he calls out Ma. Okay, I read that already. If he insists not to call using snack, but pull my hand into his mouth instead. Yeah, so therefore, all you need to do is to teach the open palm gesture, a video 5 of the micro course. But obviously, please watch the micro course from 1 to 10, okay? We have 10 videos now. So check it out. Yeah, if your child is having problems with producing speech, having a speech disorder, then stop it, Slade. So more the reason why you need to start off with gestures. All right, get them to imitate easier sounds. Get him to imitate some actions around using his hands and using his mouth, just mouth shapes even. And right now he's just physically manipulating you in order to get what he wants. All right, so you need to do that. All right, you need to get him to do the gestures. Man, my cat's about to bite me. Stop it. Okay. Anyways, so we're gonna keep on talking about questions. Let me get rid of this thing. Okay, so how do you let me remember what I was talking about. Right, so I was talking about how your questions about what is that, what are you doing, what color is that, what goes after A, or that kind of silly questions. They serve no purpose to the kid. It's not fun. It's not routine. It's not sociable. It's just you quizzing them and questioning them and see if they would talk to you. That's all, right? So how do you do it is obviously don't ask those questions, right? Wouldn't you be very very, very annoyed if someone just comes over and asks you, hey, what is that? What's that going on? Okay, let's say that you're studying something that you learn already, right? If someone comes up to you and asks you, hey, what's I don't know, if you're studying math, right? What's 8 times 8? That's what we like to do with kids a lot, right? Some kids will like it because they can do it, right? But the kids who are bad at math or not up to par yet, you ask those questions, you're just asking to be disliked by the child, right? You don't want to do that. Oh man, what's up with her today? Anyways, so don't ask those questions. Instead, if you do ask by accident, just answer them by yourself. Just answer it by yourself. The reason why is because a lot of times in the language interaction, what we do a lot is that we ask for those things a lot. We ask for your child to talk to you, but most of the time we're not giving. You're not giving enough language, all right? And it happens a lot. And it's the same how I was educated, even on a scale of a master's degree. I was, I would say okay, we kept on being questioned all the time without anyone giving input. And most of the time when we gave the correct answer, what happened? it was taken for granted. It was like, oh yeah, you should know that. Oh, whatever, And I really think that this transcends above just teaching children language. It's about teaching anyone anything, right? If I were to ask you like for this whole video clip, I would just ask you, hey, why do you think so? Like, well, why not? You think first, right? I think that's stupid. I need to give you enough knowledge for you to like at least think about, at least know enough or change your mind about how you should think about things. And then I will ask you, if I ask you like, why does your child not answer questions? You will probably say they're lazy. They just can't focus, right? They know it, but they don't just want to say it. They're being a trickster, whatever. I've heard it all, right? It's not the case. Children do want to talk to you, all right? But if they know it, they will try, and at least, you will know. But if they don't know, they will repeat or ignore you, all right? Okay, so let's go to how to teach them to answer questions. There are a load of ways to do that. A load of question types that you can start off with. The first question type you should nearly always start off with, nearly always I say, is not yes, no. Because yes and no is something that any child can already, they can already answer you, but not just in words. If you present to them something that they don't like, they either push it away, or run away, or give you like a sound or something, right? I've got a student. If you give him something he doesn't like, he goes, yeah, right? But he can say no. It's just that it's a habit for him to do so. It's faster, right? So they can already answer yes or no in their own way, all right? But the method that they use is not appropriate. So I wouldn't start with yes, no first, because when you're teaching no, it's very emotionally driven. When you're teaching yes, is usually to answer like, do you want it or not, right? Obviously the answer is yes, and they're trying to grab it from you. And probably teaching a gesture is better than answering yes. And your question is asking, do you want that, is kind of stupid, right? Without a better word, because obviously he wants it. Why are you asking? Just tell him how to get it. So yes or no I think it's off the table for the first one. The first question I would teach a child to answer is like what we call man, I forgot the name for it. Like usually I remember it, but anyways, you give two choices. Okay, forgot the technical name for it for some reason suddenly. Anyways, so when you hold two things up, have one that is highly desirable, have one that is not desirable, right? So when you do that, it's very easy for a kid to want to grab the thing that is desirable, and then you can teach him or her to say the word when he wants to grab it. If he doesn't say the word or doesn't do the right gesture or whatever, or point or whatever you're using to teach this interaction, like a choice between two, right? Then what you can do is like you can give him the wrong one and act stupid. It works. Okay, give them something that they don't want, and they're like, "Oh, you want this one, right? Okay, here you go." And then they were like, okay, this one, right? Okay, now do it. Okay, cool, here you go. Right? Or you can teach them yes, or like, sorry, this or that, or teach them the word for the thing that they want. Okay, so I would always start with that because there's a social consequence. Because if they don't express themselves nicely, they would get the thing that they don't want or like less wanted. Okay, so that's that first. Okay, how do you teach yes or no? Someone asked within the members group. Most probably, if you're watching this, you're also might be in that group. I don't know how Facebook works. Anyways, so yes no questions is difficult. All right, as I said, you cannot teach a child from saying like to say yes or no with do you want whatever, because that's a stupid question. You know already. There's no point in asking, and there's no point in them answering you because they either grab it or they run away. So why would they answer you, right? If you think about it, okay? Only children who are a little older or more mature or more language developed, they understand they need to talk to you. That's why they say yes or no. Okay, so Kuyan says, gesture, what she's asked why gesture is better than yes and no, like using a sound. I noticed early intervention program also emphasizing gesture. Wondering. Yeah, well, the thing is, I told you, right? If children who are speech or language delayed, and like both, right, then making a sound is hard. So if you ask, would you drive a manual stick on your car or automatic drive, right? Obviously, you're going to drive automatic. It does the same result with less effort. And that's like using gestures is more of getting to the same result with easier, like the process being easier. You know what I'm saying? So let's say that I'm trying to learn how to, I learn how to drive. Obviously, if I want to, I don't want to care about all the stuff. I'm going to drive an automatic, right? And, you need to remember, children, they don't want to talk. They just want that thing. That's why your kid, Koyen, is trying to put that snack into his mouth with your hand. They don't want the talking. They don't want to learn to drive. They just want to get to the destination. They just want, it doesn't matter. Like an airplane, helicopter, thing, a taxi, it doesn't matter. As long as it works and it's easy. It's human nature, right? So yes or no is something that you teach later. It's something that you teach later. And you teach it when you have a social routine. For instance, we talk a lot, like if you watch the YouTube videos that I post, YouTube is easier to search, much better than Facebook. So if you go to Agents of Speech YouTube channel, go to like play skills, and then you'll see me demonstrating like using like what's that called? A coin machine, vending machine, my bad. And then like Mr. Potato Head, car slides, whatever. You will understand when they understand like a routine, and then you give them something that is outside of routine. For instance, the vending machine you need to put a coin inside in order to get the drink, right? If you give them like a coin that is too big and it doesn't fit, and then you ask, does it fit? And then they say no, then there's a social consequence for them to say no, right? Because it makes sense. When they say no, they get the right size coin. Get it? And the same as the car slide. If you give them something that doesn't slide on the car and they try it and that doesn't work, and you say, hey, is that right? And then if they say no, then they can get back that car that works. Then of course they're gonna answer you, right? So you need to start off with not asking like, oh, how should I teach them like the language? All right, you guys, like the kid wants the result and you just want the speech. How about we all go in the middle and let's learn some routines and play, and then we can use that context to teach language, okay? We talk about this a lot inside of the full intro course, if you're wondering, okay? Always start off with the context. Without context, we don't need to communicate with you, right? Will gesture-driven kid to slower? No. Gesture is a pre-linguistic skill, all right? There's loads of studies that say kids who know how to gesture and know how to sign early on are better in language. That's all I'm going to say, man. Like, if you talk about it, like, if you didn't know how to speak in Spanish and you went to Mexico or Spain. Why did I say Mexico before Spain? Anyways, so what are you going to do? You're going to gesture out whatever you want to say. All right? It's not going to make it slower. It's going to get the communication across. Speech is only a means to communicate. If they don't have the intention to communicate with you, there's no point in doing speech. So start off with building the routine correctly. Don't let them pull your hand and put that snack in his mouth, because that means that routine works and he's not going to talk to you, because I can just pull my mom's hand to do anything, right? So you need to remember that. Okay, so let's go to Aisha. Okay, so but when a child will say yes or no or proper reciprocation, what? I usually ask my child, did you have your breakfast? And he never reply. He's having sentences, but usually when he wants something, or you can say it based on speech. He's 5 now and features of ADHD. Yeah, Aisha, I mean, like, why do you ask, did you have your breakfast? Didn't you see him have his breakfast? Or was this like afterwards? Because there's no point in anyone to answer you that. It's like a very, like a small talk thing going on. Like if you think about it, right? and he doesn't understand. Most probably kids don't understand why he has to ask you that, because as a matter of fact, I say this from my perspective, because and how like I ask children who are older, who is who was on the spectrum, but it was different from your child most probably, but they don't want to answer questions. People don't want to answer questions when there's no point. All right. So what are your yes and no questions about? Okay. So you mean proper reciprocation, right? So I know that typical developing children will answer you and say, yes, I had breakfast, I had this and that and whatever, right? But you have to remember, it's different. It's not lacking. Okay. It's different. It's different. The way that you talk to children who are delayed or disordered or, on the spectrum is different. You have to understand that. It's not like what is proper reciprocation is what we think is proper, right? You cannot a lot of times we use our measuring sticks, our rulers, to say that this is what you should do. This is like typically developing. Those are guidelines, right? As long as it's functional enough, then it's fine. All right. So my question is, can your child answer a yes or no question during if he's 5, can he answer yes or no questions based on during a board game where there are stakes, there's stuff on the line, right? If he really liked the game and you skip his turn, can he say, no, mom, it should be my turn? Or whose turn is it? Is it your turn? He's more incentivized to answer it because there's a real consequence. If you ask him, is it your turn yet? And then he says, no, and then you skip his turn, he's going to get angry, given that he understands the game, right? So you need to understand these small talk, this kind of socializing yes or no questions that are very direct, very, 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 how to say, it's very matter of fact, right? Right. So Aisha, I see that you're writing something. So it's like back and forth communication. If a person is asking something, every part based on the situation, how a teacher answer a question. If someone asking something, yeah, that's just very broad and very general. First of all, you have to know what types of questions can they answer in the very beginning, right? Can they answer who, where, based on using a book, not based on. Now I'm not need to go through the next point of this video. Actually, I still have 2 more points that I want to talk about, but I've been busy answering questions, so it's dragging on a little bit. Don't worry, I'm getting to it. So you need to understand there's a whole list from easy to hard questions, okay? And you cannot skip any of those. You cannot say, oh, my kid doesn't know how to answer why, or doesn't know how to answer whatever, right? So for you, Aisha, you have to know back and forth communication. Is that really the step that your child is at right now? Because you said your child will only say something when he wants something from you, right? So what I'm telling you is he has no incentive to talk to you. He doesn't understand the social context of I should talk to you, answer a question because I want to have a good relationship with you or whatever, right? They don't understand that. It's different. So therefore, what you need to teach them is the interaction, right? You cannot just go in and think about, okay, my child doesn't know how to answer yes and no because I asked him, did you have breakfast? Yes. And then he just ignored me. Okay. He didn't understand that he needed to answer you. And you're asking how to get him to understand the situation, right? So you need to do something that is rewarding for him first. Teach him how to play. Teach him how to, play a board game with you. Make him understand that, being able to listen to you or whatever is it makes him happy, right? And that comes from just teaching him playing, teaching him board games, teaching him how to read books, teaching him watching videos together, stopping, asking him questions, this kind of thing, right? I cannot tell you exactly the footsteps. And Aisha, as you told me, okay, so this is a very good segue to what I'm about to say. If he can answer his name, age, where he lives, father, mother name, but cannot answer other questions, those are all memorized, Aisha. Those are not questions that children use their brains to answer, with a lack of a better word. I'm so sorry, but these are all memorized, all memorized. Okay, and I'm sure that we teach this a lot, and we call this social answers, that we teach children to answer when they go to school. At least if the teacher asks what's your name, they can say their name or how old they are and where they live and father and mother if they get lost. It's very functional, right? But that is actually only the second level of questions. The first level of question is, what is that? I'm sure your child can ask, what's that? And then they can answer it, right? If you ask them like two choices, right? What I was talking about just now, he can probably like tell you what he wants because he's good with telling you what he wants, right? But once you get to like who or where questions that require his brain to move, like to spin a little bit and to see what's going on, then he'll probably get stuck. And I'm not talking about like you pointing at someone and say, who's that? That's a what question actually, because you're pointing, referencing to something in the world, and you say, who is that? Then he just needs to look, and then he just needs to label that person and say, that's mom, right? Or where is that? And you're pointing at the toilet. That's still referencing. That's still a what question, okay? So at the end of the day, you need to start at not even like social interaction. Many parents ask me, oh, how do I get two-way interaction? How do I get like them to be okay at school? I know you see this goal that you want, right? But you need to understand there are many steps towards it, okay? You cannot go in, and I don't mean to discourage you or anyone here, all right? That it will happen, but not like that, like not by me telling you something right now, oh, you just need a whatever, right? It never works like that, okay? So what I mean by who and where questions is like, can he answer, who is wearing glasses? Who here is wearing glasses? Can he answer Ming, right? Can he do that? Who here is wearing a gray shirt? Can you say Ming, right? Who here, has black hair? That kind of who questions that he needs to look, identify, and think, right? Who's a girl here? Who is the boy? Who's playing with the scooter? This kind of questions, right? That he needs to look and then really understand the essence of who, like where, for instance, where's the cup on top of the table? That's the answer, right? Where is daddy? Oh, he's in the kitchen, right? This kind of thing, this kind of question and answer. You need to start there. You need to start there and teach him using a structured task first. Don't even think about like having a two-way conversation yet. If you cannot even do that, then that's the thing that you need to work on right now. Okay? And during this like whole lockdown and pandemic and whatnot, this is the best chance to do it. This is the best chance to do it. And despite all the bad things that are happening in the world, man, this really is a good chance to, for parents to really dig deep, because there's nowhere else the kid needs to go. They have 100% energy. They don't need to go to school. I know you guys are very, very, like, especially the moms you are very tired because of all this going on, right? So you really need to stick it down and at least go through the micro course, understand how to interact with the kid. Don't ask them questions they can't answer, because if you ask them like questions that they don't answer, what are you doing? You're training the kid to ignore you, right? You're training, like, for instance, if every day the fire alarm went off here, right? And then I knew that it was of like no use, like it's just a malfunctioning fire alarm. Would I care about it? No, it's going to be annoying, obviously, but I'm not going to run out of my building just because it's ringing. I know it's faulty. So you're teaching your child that you are like that you are a faulty fire alarm. You don't need to care about you. Then there's no consequence. It's not like they don't answer, you're going to beat them. You're not going to like punish them or anything, right? But when they do answer, like, do you praise them? Does he have any reward, right? That's the problem here, right? So start off with like structured tasks. Teach them step by step which questions go first, slowly, like from like what to like who, where, and then to like simple why questions, and then like what doing question, what's he doing questions, right? How questions, so on and so forth. Okay. So Kuyan asked, for an older child, 9 years old, he's good in speech but couldn't communicate well. He wanted people to focus on sharing his fantasy world. Knowing that's then this kid is most probably having a social communication disorder. Okay, social communication disorder, which is another thing. There's like stuff within language. If you watch the older videos or inside of the full intro course, I think there's a part that talks about like, language. It's not like there's a few parts to it, right? There's like being able to speak and pronounce the words correctly. That's important. If you speak with a lot of errors, no one's gonna understand you. The other part is like knowing the words and not knowing the vocabs, how to put sentences together. And the last part is how you use it. So, even if you spoke like Oprah, right? but you say the wrong things, then you're still going to be socially awkward and there's something wrong with you, with your language communication, right? Now that's the problem here. So Korean asks, reasoning is the communication bridge. Yes and no, I guess. It's different for every kid. They have missing parts in different situations. I cannot say that as a whole truth, right? I cannot say that. It depends on the kid, right? Reasoning comes with a lot of things. I remember a long time ago, when I first started working as a therapist, my supervisor said, at the end of the day, all types of knowledge is to do with matching, right? Is to be able to associate different things with different, like one thing with another. And so is someone's facial expression when they hear you. Does it mean annoyance, right? Can you, are you able to do that? Are you able to match that face with that knowledge that, someone doesn't want to talk about it, Right. So I'm guessing you're talking about someone else's child here, Koyen. If he rejects his other language besides Mandarin, is that a problem? I don't know. It depends on like if he's living in China, then of course it's not a problem, right? You know what I'm saying? Like if you're living in Malaysia, I guess that's where you're from. It might be a problem. It might be. If you're in Singapore, it might not be a problem either. I don't know, man. It depends on the situation of the society, right? I can't say it's a problem. And obviously, if we try to teach him, the only way is to tell him about, like, teach him that the lost opportunities of knowing more with only one single language. And especially in his own country, which is in Malaysia, I guess, from what you said. So I don't know. If you ask me about this kid, it's out of context. It's very hard for me to give you a very good overview. Sometimes children, like even for therapists, right? We take quite a long time to establish an idea about how to but teach a child who is, everyone's different. Obviously, in the beginning, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of things that, especially parents that will require to learn first. So that's why the micro course is here, right? To teach you at least the basics. No, not to keep on asking questions that you don't get answers from, right? Learn to answer the questions for your kids. Learn to simplify your questions. Instead of asking, describe, right? Instead of, describe more, don't ask questions, give language models instead of asking for language from them, squeezing them like a lemon is stressful. Okay, it really is stressful. I've seen a lot, and I really think that sometimes we put our own agenda before the kid, and that's why most of the time they don't like it that much. And I'm talking about, like, I'm speaking from me being a speech therapist, and I started off as an ABA therapist, which is even more like that. Like we use rewards all the time to, like, as my previous boss calls it, bribe. One time the kid wasn't like answering me, my boss was supervising me, and it was a high intense stress workplace where my first job was. My biggest boss would sit right in front of me with a toddler's chair and watch me work. And when that didn't work, he was like, why is it not helping? Why isn't it not working? And I'm like, I think this one. And I was wrong, obviously, because I was young and stupid. But anyways, what he said, like, I'm not going to curse here, but he said, bribe that out of him, bribe the crap out of him, right? So he has some truth in that. A lot of people shy away from using bribes or rewards. Instead, what they do is they repeat the question over and over and over again, right? And for the child, it feels like banging on the wall over and over again. Just keep on banging. You're doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. And from what's that called? A fake internet quote, which is called, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's a fake quote from Albert Einstein. He didn't say that, but there is some wisdom in that. Stop doing the things that are not working and do the things that are working. The stuff that are working are stuff that we say all the time. It's not only me. Go on. I don't care if you watch someone else. Watch someone on YouTube who is a speech therapist and talks something around the same as me. Don't go like, not everyone is around the same, to be honest. Like we have the same education. We learn from the same studies. We learn from our mistakes from the very beginning, where there was a lot of punishment and a lot of questioning or whatever. Now we know better. Now therapy is the best it has ever been, I would believe, at least recorded. So I'm gonna close off this live very soon. Aisha says, I appreciate you. I appreciate you too. I mean, it's very hard for me to talk to you as a mom, and you have to sit here and listen to me say a lot of this load of stuff, because obviously it's difficult. And to some extent, every mom blames themselves. Every mom that I talk to is like, it's my fault, or like people are blaming me or whatever. And it feels bad. And I feel bad. I don't want to blame. I'm not blaming. I don't want to. It's not your fault at all. It's not your kid's fault, not anyone's fault. It's just the reality is like that, and we have to deal with it, right? It's something out of our control, but we'll control what we can control, which is don't ask those silly questions again. Don't make your child stressed out. Teach the stuff one by one, right? Control what you can control, and think about, is this something that they are able, like your child is able to do right now? If not, then think about what's the building blocks toward it, because there's always, you go to a adult special needs facility, like for my job at least, and you see a lot of children, adults actually, who haven't spoken yet, right? And at the same time, you see a lot of hope, because you see a lot of adults who didn't used to talk, suddenly now they can talk, and they're doing all sorts of things in the world. And I really hope most of them are like that. Like I'm not old enough to see a child from like a toddler to all the way to like whatever. My first student is still in primary school, right? Still is about to go into secondary, I believe, but still, I don't know. The best I can do right now is to, other than teaching one child at a time, is to teach you. That's all I can do. And especially during this corona, my hands are tied. I'm not gonna, as sad as it is, right? There's some clients of mine who haven't been so fortunate during this pandemic. They've suffered, and I don't want to be inside of that narrative. So that's all I can do right now. So I'm just going to answer this last question. Any questions that come after, I'm just going to answer them with words. Okay. I mean, like typing. So Koyen says, our daily communication is 100% Mandarin. Should we make environment different language? Will that be helpful? Not really. There's nothing that, I wouldn't say that making the environment different will be helpful. In fact, it will be quite stressful. Right? If you're talking about that 9-year-old kid, you need to let him understand why exactly he needs to learn other languages, right? And he might be correct. He doesn't even need to learn Bahasa Melayu, or sorry if I'm saying it wrong, right? Or English per se, because daily communication 100% Mandarin anyways. And you might be living in a very like a Chinese packed environment. Like, I don't know where you are, to be honest. I don't know. Like my friends from Malaysia, they all speak Cantonese. So, and I speak to them in Cantonese as well. So, you know, this 9-year-old guy or gal probably does not require to learn other languages, or else he or she wouldn't have survived already. So to some extent, he's right. Doesn't need to. But if you make the environment different in a different language, it'll be stressful. You need to know it from the heart. You need to slowly and make him understand that he must learn. Like the reasons why, the benefits are like this, right? Because he's 9, he's smart. It's just that he's socially a little bit awkward, I would say, if it does require some therapy of some sort. Okay, so thanks guys for tuning in. Obviously, if you haven't, you should go to agentsofspeech.com/micro, join our micro course, and at least put your first foot into the door. There's already been 1,000 right now, 1,000 or more parents who are engaged in this micro course. So if you need more help, just reach out. Just email me at ming@agentsofspeech.com. Preferably you would have already watched some of the stuff from the micro course, and we can have a better chat there. And that's probably it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next Monday. Oh, and if you saw the live for the Zoom call for Thursday, you're more than welcome to join. I really screwed up. I sent the wrong email, but I'm sure that it'll be fun. You can join, but don't expect that you'll be able to send me videos and whatnot. Okay, that's it. See you guys. Bye.